Monday Night Raw, it was okay. Nothing to really write home about. You can catch the highlights, and that's all you really need. And that's despite the fact that at the end, there was a shock heel turn and NXT call-ups. It just felt like this Raw was kind of a letdown, to be honest with you, because of such a great ending segment last week that where Solo Sikoa thumbs Roman Reigns and everything, and him and LA Knight stand tall over the Bloodline. That was such an amazing ending. You were hoping it would carry over to Raw tonight. And it didn't. And it showed with the crowd as well. The crowd was so dead, it kind of affected the viewing experience as well. Not gonna lie. And maybe that's fair, maybe that's not fair, but it is what it is. And this is your one take, one shot Monday Night Raw review, where I do it immediately following Raw, so you get my gut reaction. Can't look at other YouTubers and steal their opinions and claim it as my own. So, with no edits and no cuts, let's go into what I thought. I liked LA Knight and Solo Sikoa. That was great. That was fun. Those two together are they're hilarious. They're absolutely hilarious, and it seems like they're having fun for the first time in a long time. Solo allowed to be himself, and LA Knight just kind of so LA Knight seems to be just kind of laughing at Solo Sikoa and all of his antics, and it just works. They kind of remind me of Mankind and The Rock from back in the day, the Rock and Sock connection, in that it's something that you didn't know you wanted, but once you got it, you couldn't live without it. They're doing a very good job playing off one another. Hopefully, it leads to an LA Knight world title reign, but we all know he's not going to beat Roman Reigns. But if you want a world title reign, all you got to do to win this one on my shoulder is comment below and subscribe to the channel. You see, at 30,000 subscribers on my quest to quit my day job, I'm going to give away this belt right here, or any belt that's ever been on my shoulder. It's not a toy. It's a replica, and it can be yours. I'll ship it anywhere in the world, even Ohio. I know, right? All right, free shipping also, by the way. So, yes, we start off with LA Knight, Solo Sikoa. They're doing each other's catchphrases. At one point, he's about to do another catchphrase, Solo Sikoa, but then LA Knight's like, I gave you two. We're not going to do that. And then the Usos come out, and they're all mad. They're all mad at Jey Uso needs to stop doing his warning shot, because Solo Sikoa has basically killed it with his pew, 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 because he goes, bow! And then Solo does the Matrix thing. I couldn't tell if LA Knight was just laughing or if he was actually holding Solo, but Solo was literally doing this. It was so funny. Solo Sikoa making fun of his brothers, making fun of Jey Uso, is great stuff. It really is. And it's like those two, LA Knight, Solo, they never had a friend before, and so now they're experiencing friendship for the first time, and they're like, this is cool. I love it. The Usos, they say that they're like, blah, 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 blah. You hurt the family. You need to be hurt now yourself. You know the play. The standard stuff that the Usos always say when somebody offends the OTC. All right? Insert name here. And then Solo's like, you want to fight? Let's have a fight tonight. And they say we're gonna, that's our main event. Now, this is a shame because, like I said earlier, I think I said this earlier, that last week had such a great ending. We wanted it to carry over to tonight. Now, I'm glad that we are kind of dealing with the ramifications of this, but it just feels that without Roman Reigns tonight, it really, it felt like Roman should have been here. Even if it was just backstage calling the orders. Like, why did they film a bunch of backstage segments last week of Roman saying, I'm not going out there. But then throughout the night, we have Roman kind of dictating what the Usos are going to do to LA Knight and Solo Sikoa. Because, I don't know, it just felt like, and I get it, Roman's a part-timer. He's like a part-timer. I get that. I understand that. And in fact, I even think it works sometimes for his character. But not tonight, because of how worked up he got last week, how bamboozled he got last week. I really feel that Roman Reigns would have wanted to be here to really just put his boot on Solo Sikoa's neck, and it didn't feel it didn't feel like the story beat called for Roman to miss this week. And I'm not even a guy that thinks Roman needs to be there every week, but this week it did feel like he needed to be there, and the fact that he wasn't there kind of hurt the momentum of the overall storyline. But Solo Sikoa, LA Knight together, yeah, they're hilarious. Love them. Absolutely adore those two together. After that, we're going to have a matchup between Roxanne Perez and Stephanie Vaquer. Nothing out of the ordinary here. Honestly, I know this is going to get a lot of hate because there's a lot of people who simp for Roxanne Perez, and I really think that she is great, but the way that WWE has treated her over the last, since joining the main roster, I don't feel that. I feel like this match should have been quicker. Stephanie Vaquer, how she has been treated and how Roxanne has been treated, there's definitely a difference. One's a main eventer and one definitely is not. And I feel Stephanie should have beat her quicker. We did have interference, like per usual, and then this will, Stephanie will just eventually win. Stephanie will eventually win, and Liv is about to get involved, but Becky Lynch comes down, and she stops her, and she says to Stephanie, all right, now you owe me two, and it's like they're telling the same exact story now. I'm glad there's people actually challenging for the women's world title, but they're telling every single week it's Stephanie wants her title. Liv comes out in some way, shape, or form to rub it in her face that she is the champion, whether it's cheating or just saying it. And then Becky comes in to even the odds, and then her and fellow babyface Stephanie just stare at each other in the face. That's the story they've told for 3 weeks now. It was great week 1, but then we needed something different week 2 and this week also. Stephanie does get a title shot, I believe, next week, so that's kind of crazy. Liv went 105 days without any title shots, and now she's only gone 3 weeks, and now she's getting another one out, so, there's progress on that front at least. And then we have Rey Fenix versus Dragon Lee. And we will have Dominic Mysterio, Dragon Lee and Rey, they're kind of having a talk, and Rey's pepping him up, and he goes out. Dominic says, oh, you treat everybody like your son except for your son. But then Javon Evans attacks JD and Dominic for what Dominic did last week when he pushed Javon into a ring post, which then allowed Big Cass to beat him up, so there's revenge there. We go to the matchup, Dragon Lee versus Rey Fenix. I love Rey Fenix, his in-ring work. I am starting to like Dragon Lee a lot too lately for some reason, but it was a foregone conclusion that Fenix was going to win so we could get that Penta versus Fenix, brother versus brother matchup. I wish there was an actual story here other than just a tournament to determine who's going to lose to Roman Reigns, but, beggars can't be choosers? I don't know. Maybe beggars can be choosers. Does this burger that you're giving me, does it have pickles on it? It does? Oh, let me pull off the pickles. So maybe beggars can be a little bit of choosers, and I'm going to be a beggar that has a little bit of choosing. I'm very happy to see Penta versus Rey Fenix, although they did fight twice in AEW. I wish there was an actual story going into this match other than I'm going to lose to Roman Reigns next week. But that said, we have Rey Fenix, great match. Him and Dragon Lee, match of the night. Dragon Lee did this one thing where Rey Fenix is on the Rey Fenix is on the announce desk, and Dragon Lee comes. He's done this similar stuff like this before, but today felt just really vicious. He runs through the ropes, and then he he goes this is his back, right? And he just hits. I'm like, what? How did he even do that? I still don't even know. These luchadors, they defy gravity, for real. It was go do yourself a favor and watch that highlight of the Dragon Lee Rey Fenix right there. That was amazing stuff right there. Then we go into probably this was I have mixed emotions over the next segment. We have Oba Femi and Bron Breakker. And first Oba comes out, then Bron Breakker comes out, and they sit at a table. And Paul Heyman actually did introduce Bron. So it looked like Paul was kind of siding with Braun. But they both sit at a table, and Braun starts talking. Now, I am glad that they let Braun talk. He needs to talk more. But this did not do him any favors. I'm going to tell you the truth here. But Oba Femi, he did talk, and this, I feel, did Oba favors. It showed that Oba is more than just a squash machine. He actually made a lot of sense tonight. He had a pretty good promo. But on Bron Breakker's behalf, it didn't really make sense. And because Bron Breakker is not a delusional heel in that if he takes a loss, like sometimes a delusional heel, they'll take a loss and then they'll come back the next night on Raw and just no-sell it. I didn't lose. That wasn't a real loss. But Bron Breakker is not a delusional heel because one time he said to Seth Rollins, yeah, I lost to CM Punk, but at least he was the best in the world. So Bron Breakker is not delusional. And tonight, he felt a little delusional. He was like, oh, look at you, Braun, or look at you, Oba. You're only in the spot you are because I got injured. And that's just not true. Bron Breakker has been on a slow descent for a while now. He brought up the fact, like, a year ago they were barking for me. They were doing this for me. They were doing this for me. And now because I got injured, they're doing it for you. You're the flavor of the month. And that's just not true. When Bron Breakker lost to CM Punk at the beginning of the year, that's when I feel his downward spiral happen. On top of that, at the Royal Rumble, he was number 2, and who was number 1? Oba Femi. Who eliminated who? Oba Femi eliminated Bron Breakker. And Braun was like, what have you done? What have you done? And I'm thinking to myself, what have you done, Bron Breakker? And now please don't mistake me. A lot of you out there tend to think that I hate the wrestler, that I'm criticizing the story they're in, and that's not the case. Just because I love Bron Breakker, I'm not going to turn a blind eye to when he's not making sense or the story doesn't make sense. A lot of people are like, oh, you must hate CM Punk for the videos that my Easter egg videos, and it's not that I hate CM Punk, it's that CM Punk portrayed himself in a way that he wanted people to hate him, so I obliged. I had to bring up facts that kind of made him look like a heel, but he was playing a heel. So, good job, CM Punk, right there. And right here, though, Bron Breakker saying, what have you done lately, Oba Femi? And he's like, oh, you won King of the Ring. Oh, you beat Brock Lesnar. And I'm like, yeah, those are two big deals. Winning King of the Ring is huge. Beating Brock Lesnar is huge. What have you done, Bron Breakker? You were handed a tag team title because Logan Paul is, hurt. You're the 4th most important person in your faction. How are you telling Oba, what have you done? You haven't done anything enough lately. It's like, yeah, Bron Breakker was Intercontinental Champion twice, a year or 2 years ago, but it's like Braun was making no sense on why he felt that Oba was in the position he was and how it was unfair. So that didn't make sense. However, Bron Breakker does kind of salvage things because eventually he picks up the contract and he starts to sign it, right? And then instead of giving it to Oba Femi, and Oba Femi cuts good promos. He cuts great promos against Braun. He made the more sense. And then he goes, instead of giving it to Oba Femi, he goes and he says, take it, Paul. Take it, Paul. You're his daddy, aren't you? And this is the Bron Breakker that I've been wanting to see. This unhinged, little loose, little doesn't make sense bully. And he starts getting in Paul Heyman's face. Sign it, Paul. Sign it. Sign it for him. You're his daddy. And Paul Heyman's like, don't do this. Don't do this. And it's getting really awkward, right? Getting a little uncomfortable. He's being a bully to Paul Heyman. And then Braun just socks Oba Femi. He socks Oba Femi and gets a couple hits on him. And then I was like, this is getting good. I wanted to see this as well. But unfortunately, they then let Oba Femi get the upper hand. I feel Oba Femi should have lost this segment. It seemed like Braun kind of had a plan. He was going to try to chip away at Bron Breakker's psyche, and then he had that surprise attack waiting for him. I thought this was a perfect opportunity to give Oba Femi a beatdown, but they win against it. And then they even had the Austin Theory come and help him, and Oba was able to overcome that as well. He power bombed Austin Theory into the table, or whatever he does, his move into the table, and Bron Breakker kind of gets away. So while they're kind of eyeballing each other, so it's like kind of a draw, but in my mind this was a total W for Oba Femi because Braun tried to sneak attack him and that failed. So I really think we should have beat down Oba Femi here. Especially if Oba Femi is going to win. Especially if Oba Femi... You got to let the bad guy get a couple, moral victories, if that makes sense. So, but overall, it was a decent segment. And it does feel nice to see Bron Breakker being treated like a big deal. I'm going to die on the hill, though, that we should have built up Bron Breakker before having this feud with Oba Femi, because Triple H has done an amazing job of dismantling Bron Breakker, and I say that very, very facetiously, and I don't like that they did that, because Braun's if they had rebuilt Bron Breakker or they had treated Bron Breakker good throughout the year, this would be such a good feud right now. But as it stands, it's like, I don't know, Bron Breakker, he's the fourth most important person in this faction. After that, we did have the Usos backstage with Jacob Fatu, and they kind of talk about last week, and then they say, you need to stay back here. Jay, shoves the black Ulafala in his face. Yeah, we're the captains, and then Jimmy does it too, so they have totally bought in. That's funny, that's great. Then the worst thing happened on the show. Big Cass versus Javon Evans. Big Cass has pretty much owned Javon left and right. So tonight, it's the big payoff. I'm thinking we're going to get some kind of roll-up victory or something. Javon Evans is going to squeak out a win. And no, he just lost. The last time Big Cass was on WWE TV was 8 years ago. I remember when Baron Corbin came aboard, I was like, oh, okay, Baron Corbin is here, so he can lose. Jobbers are needed. All right, jobbers are needed. People who can lose. Look at Matt Cardona. I know he's the king of the indies and people love him. The people want him to succeed. But, I thought that's what Baron Corbin was going to do. Kind of someone who can realistically, can have a good match, but still probably going to be the guy that takes the L. But then Baron Corbin ends up beating Trick Williams twice and even Carmelo Hayes. For the U.S. title. Interesting. Okay, well, now we have Javon Evans. A couple weeks ago, I put, what are we doing with Javon? He doesn't even get a pay-per-view match, PLE match. This is insane to me. A one-on-one PLE match. It's he has a connection with the crowd. We need to start doing something. Please don't give me that excuse that he's 23 years old and he has his whole career ahead of him. And then we get Big Cass, an actual feud for Javon. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's going to beat Big Cass. And it's just going to, Big Cass is big, though, and he's going to be a bully. No, Big Cass just won. And I'm like, I just don't understand that. It's maybe if we were on SmackDown, I could understand, because they're trying to build up Big Cass to go face the champion CM Punk and get a program there. But Big Cass isn't going up against Roman Reigns, so what are we doing here? What? I don't understand why we're jobbing out Javon Evans. And not just jobbing him out, but he's consistently and constantly getting his butt kicked. Remember how I said earlier, you got to let the bad guy get a win, a moral victory here and there? Well, you got to let the good guy also. It's the same concept. Javon has never gotten the upper hand of Big Cass, and then he just loses? You got to give him something. I really thought, this should have been Javon Evans. I get it. Big Cass is huge. I mean, maybe it's because he hit 40, and now once you hit 40, you're a main event guy. So maybe that's what they're doing. I don't know. If they're planning on a title run with the guy, then I guess. But what I think they're really doing, I think I figured it out. So Oba's going to beat Bron Breakker, And then they need something else for Oba to do after. And it'll probably be Big Cass. Because Big Cass will then come up to Oba and be like, all right, you got to beat me now. I was once the big guy around here, and I don't like that you're the big guy now. So they're just trying to keep Oba away from Roman until WrestleMania 43. I don't like that at all. And another thing I don't like. So Big Cass, right? Michael Cole was telling us all of his backstory. Right? Oh, he only blames other people. He's not grateful. This is not a redemption tour. I need to see Big Cass saying that stuff. I don't need the commentator to say that. I need Big Cass to be telling everybody how he's not grateful, how he's not this, how he's the one that pulled himself out of rock bottom. Nobody else did, and now he's gonna tear WWE apart because he hit rock bottom here and nobody cared about him. Blah, 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 blah. Have the actual wrestler say that. But honestly, I just don't understand Javon getting beat up for 3 weeks in a row just to lose. That was a choice. Chad Gable and Adam Pearce congratulated themselves for a great match last week against Rey Mysterio, and then Ethan Page said, I want a match, and he started talking trash, and then Gable said, you talk too much, now you don't get a match. Yeah. Penta and La Parka. La Parka did not get an intro, and he got it during commercial break. I really like his intro, so I wish they would have let him have his entrance. But it was a foregone conclusion. Penta won, and now we're going to get Penta versus Rey Fenix next week. They showed a lot of respect towards each other. Oh, someone said respect. Stephanie Vaquer actually said the word respect at 8:01 p.m. So respect, yay. Lots of respect. Dragon Lee showed Phoenix respect. Then, so Penta wins. Rey Fenix, Penta, they stare at each other, then they hug, they show each other respect. I really wish, it would have been so funny if the moment one should have just turned on the other right there to show that the championship was more important than brotherhood. That would have been great. And then they could have continued their feud after Roman beats one of them, but nah, they didn't do that. They just hugged. Yay, brothers. And then we have LA Knight and Solo Sikoa versus the Usos. Good match. Good match. Pew, 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 pew. It was fine. It was nothing crazy, honestly. Pretty forgettable, but at the end, Royce Keys came out of nowhere and speared, I believe, Solo and Jay, maybe. He speared them through the barricade, and then you had OTM from NXT. OTM stands for Out of the Mud, and they are aligned with Royce Keys. If you don't watch NXT, you're just not going to know who these guys are, and that's fine. You don't have to know who they are, but the deafening, the quietness of the crowd was pretty deafening and awkward, but it was nice to see Royce Keys actually have personality. Like, as a babyface, the dude just stood there. He was like the male version of Stephanie Vaquer, just no personality. But people are going to, oh my gosh. I wish I wouldn't have said that. I'm getting 5 people are unsubscribing right now because I said that. How dare you talk about our Lord and Savior, Stephanie Vaquer? But get back on track. Just stop talking about Stephanie. She just has no personality. I can't connect with Stephanie Vaquer. This is all she does. I wish I could connect with Stephanie Vaquer. I wish I could. I really do. I promise you. I really do admire her wrestling ability. But as a character, wet toast, man. And that was Royce Keys, just wet toast until tonight. As a heel, he was playing it up. I saw raw emotion. He was good. He didn't let the crowd, the quiet, deafening crowd, bug him. He just was into it. Now, OTM, you could tell, like, I'm not sure about them, but this was a main roster debut, and it was just good. It was good for Royce Keys. Was this as good as last week? No, but nothing's, like, that's going to be a hard one to top. I wish the crowd would have been more into this, but whatever. Royce Keys showed up, and he beat up everybody. He beat up LA Knight and Solo Sikoa. The announcer even said, wait a second, wasn't he teaming up with those guys last week? And so, yes, it doesn't make sense right now, but I'm willing to wait 1 week, not 3 to 4 weeks where Royce Keys is just taking off TVs, but I'm willing to wait 1 week for Royce Keys to come, and it's an easy fix. All you got to do is say, yeah, we're coming after the Bloodline for taking me out, because they did take out the Usos as well. And then he also has to say, and I'm taking out LA Knight and Solo Sikoa because, I got injured and now nobody came and visited me. No one came and helped me. And I see you two just palling around, pew, 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 having a good time while I'm laid out, while I'm in the hospital. No. So I went and got my boys, and now we're going to run roughshod. And now you got Royce Keys totally evil, which is great. I think Royce should have started off as a bad guy, because now if he had started off as a bad guy, then we could use his backstory to make him sympathetic as a babyface in a year or two. But whatever, they did everything backwards. Surprise, surprise. Anyways, Royce Keys is a bad guy. I think that's going to be great because he actually looked like he had character tonight. So, those are your Monday Night Raw. Wait, I was about to say hot takes. That's your one take, one shot Monday Night Raw review. Boys, gals, go leave a hot take. See ya, bye.